All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meier. Today we're going to talk about all those other people that want to have their cake and eat it too. It's so easy to recognize it in other people, right? And then I was just seeing it in myself and I was like, oh, that's important to talk about. But not in a mean way, just in a firm way, right? Not in a way where, because, okay, so we have our real deeper self. I was just talking about that in one of my more recent videos, right? We have our deeper self. And so when I always say, get present, look, let's see if we can get the sun right in between those trees. Look at that. We're going to go sit under it. Get in your deeper eye. Think of yourself as the I that was you before you had a name. When you were let's say in your mother's womb, right? In that place. Right? I know it seems weird at the beginning of a video, we want the information. That's your mind. That's your egotism. Just be present. I always like looking at the wind blowing in trees. Because it's like the spirit of the tree, And so we're talking about the spirit of you. But I'm a psychologist, and so I'll get to your mind as well. Don't worry, right? I'm hearing that song. It's a very happy unbirthday. Because it's like the rabbit, all of the trickster people want to have their cake and eat it too, right? Have tea and cake. All right, so let's get to it. When you are in childhood, so, none of us like the experience, let's say. Let's start with that experience. We don't like the experience of feeling like, oh, someone says, I love you, but I'm going to have this side thing, whatever addiction, whether it's alcohol. I remember Elliot and I just had it in my mind, I was getting over a breakup and he had a girlfriend and I totally wanted to respect that. My friend Elliot was a musician. And so it was that's good. We'll just be in friend category, because I saw how much he drank and I was I would never want to compete with drinking. I was working at a rehab at the time. It's so funny. I saw that, because he was also more conscious than anybody I had met, to my knowledge, And so, we don't like the feeling of, hey, it's before phones came out, I remember, my dad was on Atari Bridge or something. So I'd try to be telling him something important in my life. And he's watching, we had a giant screen TV, right? Huge screen TV. We lived in Texas, so you could afford things more in Texas. And we didn't have anything when I was first born. But my mom always tells the story of, I had 2 maternity dresses and I made both of them and I just rotated between the two, and she was a school teacher. But so imagine as a little kid, you're going in trying to communicate with someone these deep, sensitive or beautiful things in your life, and there's just a giant screen. And also they're playing a computer game. It was on Atari back then, but that might age me a little bit. I was really little. Anyway, and so you're used to feeling like you want attention, but you don't get it. You're always going to be second. And if they go in rage or they're working all the time or whatever, it's still, this work is more important than being present with you. I don't know how to know you. They don't, even when they're unconscious, forgive them, they know not what they're doing, is what Jesus said when he's on the cross. It doesn't mean excuse them. It means forgive whatever they're doing. That's not of highest love. That's not of highest consciousness. Jesus, even then when he's dying, is giving us a mystery. That's a mystery. That's a truth. That's a eternal truth to enter into, is, and you can, I always say, I welcome all religions. You can see that eternal truth no matter what your faith or religion or non-religion is like, if you don't forgive them, then you're constantly going to be waiting for them to give you what you were missing. And I don't want your life to be on hold. Why should your life be on hold for something they weren't conscious enough to give you? As long as, I do this, like, here's the parent, here's the child, here's the parent, here's the child. Right now, we're all adults, so we're equal, And so, if you're in this child position, because the child has to wait for the parent, if you keep seeing yourself in that old child position, like if I keep seeing the world through the lens of, everybody's going to be present with me, but really actually, like, why was I drawn to someone like Elliot? My dad was highly charismatic. He's written 100 books. I used to do national radio with him. He was on Oprah, all that stuff, right? And so here's Elliot, who's a genius and he's really talented. And yet he was, drinking excessively all the time and smoking and all that stuff. But he didn't judge me for where I was. And I just didn't judge him because I just was present with him. But it was also familiar, and familiar is like family. And so, okay, understand this. I'm learning a lot more, even though I've been a psychologist for 22 years, I'm learning more about childhood trauma, childhood PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I'm seeing for sure, I know in our psychology books, we'd be like, I have that. But this is like, I have all the symptoms for that. I could take her test. There's a woman on YouTube that's called The Crappy Childhood Fairy. And her name is Anne or Anna. And I just started watching her videos. I love her. There's a lot of truth in her videos, right? It's like 10 sessions again in one video, and some of them. The other one that I watched yesterday was like, stop playing it small. And it really helped me shift something inside, because if you look at when you have trauma in childhood, right? All of us try to avoid pain and go towards pleasure. That's our natural flesh instinct. The nature of our fleshly nature, not our physical flesh, let's say, but our what the church calls the world, the flesh and the devil. But the world will call us to do all of these things and to achieve and to be this. Your flesh will tell you, I have to regulate this. This is painful. I'm triggered. And the devil will tempt you to do it by like, hey, I'll give you this power and you'll feel so powerful temporarily. Then you'll owe me, and then you'll be a slave to that. It's like there's a verse that says whoever sins becomes a slave to sin. At first it seems like there's no problem. You're not having a consequence. But imagine, if at first I'm in a deep relationship with someone and then I just start, going to alcohol, going to drugs, going to whatever. And I think, oh, well, we're just having problems, so I'm just going to drink this and it'll make me feel better and more relaxed. And, be able to tell this person my problems and be straightforward, because it takes away your inhibitions. But then I keep depending on that thing to make me happy. And I get crankier and crankier with this person. And, you can move into a transactional relationship where it's like, you do this for me and I'll do this for you. And you do this for me and I'll do this for you. And then I was in a Tony Robbins live, this private meeting that we all had, a course on relationships. And he was like, I did lots of videos on it too. So they're in my YouTube channel with my name, Dr. Cheryl Meier, Meier, if you don't see it right now. But where he's like, I just call that horse trading. You're just horse trading. You're trading this for that. And so if you had experiences in childhood of trauma, then you just learn, I better please this parent or get out of their way or whatever. And so it does become very transactional. And, for you to have a real, genuine, intimate relationship with divine love, with God or with anybody else, seems so weird and so strange. And like, is that really possible, So just get really present still here with me, And there are lots of techniques for you, if you get in a triggered state, how to get out of it without using smoking and drinking, alcohol or drugs, or, high risk behaviors. Like people can be over sexualized, and, they go to all those different forms of that. I know someone was saying that, all these people were in rehab, so they gave up alcohol, so they were just all sleeping with each other, and it's like, you can come in and understand without judging that they're still looking for that high. But unless you learn how, and the divine love, God, universe, however you want to call it, I call it, I say divine love so that we don't put God in a small box, will always help you. Ask for help. I know we're used to asking for help from our parents and not getting it, right? And so, or asking help from ourselves. But if we're high and having our cake and trying to eat it too at the same time, then we're not that helpful for ourselves. We're only temporarily, or we can be, but we're not that reliable. Okay, so let's understand why. It's 11:11 into this. That means like open doors. I'm not saying what it means. There's lots of verses that have that too. But anyway, I don't want to be superstitious. I just know that numbers have meanings. But you can take shortcuts, and you can take spiritual shortcuts too, where you were like, well, I'll follow this. I'll say I believe in God, but I'm going to open myself to this buffet of spiritual stuff, because what if this doesn't work and that doesn't work? See how that's a repetition of childhood. That's a repetition of, well, I was in lack all the time. I was missing a present parent. I was missing food, or someone that I didn't know if they were going to hit me or not, or I didn't know if they were going to rage at me and take all their triggers out on me, or just abandon me and leave me, like a latchkey kid, like with other caretakers all the time, and those are going in and out. So there's no consistency in that, And so with that, we have this insecurity from childhood, and it's not an excuse to go into addictive behaviors and pain and treating others with disrespect or yourself, right? But it's about understanding, I'm trying to take a shortcut. If your parents, let's say they yelled at you, that's taking a shortcut. Instead of becoming higher conscious and more aware who they deeply are, they stay in their personality self, and they're sucked into all their problems. And so they're yelling at you. That's a shortcut. They taught you you're not worth. By their actions, they taught you you're not worth more than a shortcut. But you are worth more than a shortcut. But you see, we internalize that message that you're not worth more. And so they just keep showing you all of these, well, I'm going to have my cake and act like I'm a good mom or a good dad. But I'm going to eat this too. Just go take all this frosting of like, I just got to go out with my friends because I can't take being a mom, and I can't take, whatever. It's like going out all the time to try to fill up that emptiness, because you didn't learn how to fill it, that you didn't know you could fill it in a deeper way, in a real way. Now, if you're triggered all the time because you had trauma in the past, that's the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which is pleasing. Fight, flight, freeze, or please, where you just want to fight someone all the time, or you freeze and you just let people walk on you because you're used to that, or you're trying to please them because you think if you please them, maybe they'll stop hurting you and see your value, but you're not knowing your value. The other one, fight, flight. You just run into escapism. This is the fantasy. There's a thing called limerence. Wow, look up her videos, The Crappy Childhood Fairy, on limerence. That will really open your eyes about how you'd rather be in this fantasy relationship, fantasizing that someone loves you and they're sending signals that they love you, and they're not actually showing up in your life. Well, you learned how to cope in childhood. You did that all the time in order to cope in childhood. You can understand why you did that before you no longer have to carry on in that. You're worth a real relationship. You're worth not being someone's side chick or side guy, or just a what call. You know what I mean? You're worth so much more than that. But it's learning how to learning how to calm down. This tapping is one way, taking deep breaths, learning how to heal those triggers so that you can heal your childhood trauma. so that you don't take the shortcut anymore. All right, we're running out of time. I'll speak more in all my videos. Share, love. I had to say more, all right? I didn't have to, but I really want to get to this part of why we go and have our cake and eat it too as well, so that you can understand, is that we are trying to control the situation now. When you have an experience in childhood, you internalize that and you start seeing the world through those glasses, like I was saying. And so you think the world is always going to be like that. You assume it is, you know? And someone taught me assume is when you make an ass out of you and me. You just keep assuming. You stay in a foolish position, not in a wise, but you're not trying to. So don't criticize, just call yourself on it so that you can move out of that, right? And have a deeper, richer life. And so when you yourself, and you can understand where the other people are coming from too, but that doesn't mean excuse them. You can walk away, you know, or set boundaries. If you're in a married relationship, you can set boundaries and you can stop doing this within yourself. You'll see that you've been enabling them to do the same thing because you've been escaping in some way yourself. And so understand that if we keep assuming there's going to be a parent that's not really feeding us, then I got to have all these back burners, you know, these other things on the stove that I keep holding on to that enslave me, that don't free me, that don't give me the love and the intimacy that I really wanted, you know. And it's like, even if you look at the first commandment that God gave to Moses, if you want to understand it that way, is that, you know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And then the second is like, love your neighbor as yourself. But it's like, look, God is not giving us that. Divine love's not giving us that because he's a jerk and he's just like, you have to love me like a narcissist and please me. It's like, no. When you're aligned with perfect love and you stop going to the substitutes, then you'll know more what real intimacy is, what your parents didn't show you. They didn't show you that. That's why we go try to have our cake and eat it too. And that's why we enable other people and give them room to keep having their cake and eating it too, and just go, oh, I'll turn a blind eye to that. You're worth more than that. They're worth more than that. Don't do that. That's destructor. That's a destroyer of relationships, you know? But you can understand why you're doing that and understand that there is a way to get out of that. And Jesus said the road is narrow and very few find it. So it takes discipline. It does take effort, but it's always freely available to us, right? The love, the truth is always available to us. Some people will chase after highs even within their religion, do you know what I mean? And keep trying to go into more and more mystery so that they feel like they have an ego edge over other people. And so I just wish you so much love, and I encourage you that you're worth the deepest, most real solution, and that's all I'm about. So that's what I'm going to keep teaching about as long as I'm here on this earth. I know it, all right? So enjoy all my videos, learn from them, share, like, and comment. Much love.